So come seated, sitting on your heels if possible. Elevate your sit bones if you need on a block or bolster. In this practice, I suggest you have some props nearby, blankets, bolsters, straps, whatever you might have that would serve to prop you up. Your hands in a mudra, in a seal, in a gesture, bringing its attention back into the heart Hridaya mudra, where the pointer finger curls in to the base of the thumb, and the thumb touches the middle finger and the ring finger. And slowly releasing out the mudra. If you have a bolster or a couple blankets or pillows, take them out in front of you. We're going to come into downward facing dog and find a way to rest our forehead or the crown of the head on an object that will support it, soft enough so we can rest in. So much of the congestion of our thoughts, of our vrittis, the chitta vritti, the chatter of the mind, that endless fluctuation of thought happens in the forebrain. We look for a moment to be in this posture that is an inversion, an active posture in some ways, but become restful. Find a place to surrender in the midst of activity. Ishvara is this divine, the sense of awareness, of oneness, sometimes called God, universe. Pranidhana is surrender, finding ways in the midst of it all to surrender. Slowly come on out, and whatever item you had for your forehead, we're going to place it directly into the sternum. As we come down onto our hips, our legs extending out, looks like Sphinx. This activation of something resting just underneath our heart, holding us here. This extension through the collarbones, the softening of the throat, of the will, of the jaw. Most folks these days have so much tension in their jaw, and they equate the jaw with the ego, the I, the me, and the my of it all. Ishvara Pranidhana suggests we surrender some of that. So we begin with loosening in the jaw. Small heart opening. And sliding the hands back. Slowly come back up onto the knees. And now we set ourselves up for a low lunge, but supported. So as you can see, I've got a bolster and I've got a 3-minute egg, which is a sort of block. You place underneath my right sit bone. You might need 1, you might need 2. I'm going to place my other block underneath my left thigh, and so that neither are strained. So once I arrive here, I can feel a support. And I release into, I soften into the opening. And we move from this into a supported Ardha Hanumanasana. So that the hamstring isn't strained. You're not straining to get down further. You can let yourself set it up, put the support underneath you, and then fold in. So again, not dissimilar from these great practices of the yamas and niyamas. They indeed are our props, our support. in the midst of all of the movement of life, of all of our preferences, our conditioning. And we'll change legs into the lunge. So once again, you might try to find that support underneath that right thigh bone and the support underneath that left sit bone. As we talked about in Ishvara Pranidhana, the Ishvara becomes what we give ourselves to, what we give our time, our energy, our focus on. So many of us have given ourselves to things that we're not even actively choosing. We've fallen into, in a sense. Worry, fear, stress, overactivity. Slowly move in Ardha Hanumanasana, folding over the left leg. We have this desperate need to be relevant, to have it all matter. This birth, this life, and this death. So the final practice in self-study and knowing the self in relationship with self and our own consistency, our own sense of contentment and cleanliness is Ishvara Pranidhana, this surrender into the divine, into the infinite, slowly releasing out. We'll bring that right foot forward once again. We're going to roll onto the outer edge of our left hip, spinning the right toes open to the right. So it kind of looks like you're chilling on a lounge. You can have the bolster underneath the waist, but keep that right foot active. You want length to happen through that right hip and space up through the crown of the head. We'll rest here for a moment, letting just the natural work of gravity happen through our body, the left ribs sinking down. And slowly extend the right leg on top of the left, and we'll lean over the bolster or the blanket that we have. You can keep the right hand by the waist or take it up and over toward the left hand. A passive opening through the side body. In these practices, we become fiercely compassionate with our own vulnerability, our own humanness, our own coming and going, our own impermanence. And slowly, carefully come on up. We'll change sides. First coming into that chilled out chaise lounge lizard. And come down onto the elbow or be up on the hand, letting the left hand rest onto that left knee. If you have anyone who's willing to fan you with a large palm leaf, now's the time. And when you're ready, coming all the way onto your side, lining up the left leg over the right. Again, keeping either the left hand to the left hip or bringing it up and over toward that right. Carefully pressing yourself back up. Come into a version of double pigeon. Please support your knees, your body, your hips in any way. I'll give you the version of a block underneath that right knee, but the right shin is on top of the left. If you have a blanket or bolster or pillow, again, place it deep into the low belly and fold in. Might be a small folding, or maybe you come all the way in. If possible, some block so that you can rest your forehead down. And we really look into what the currency of our own life force is, our own prana, our own energy, and how quickly we spend that currency, again, in places and areas and on things. It doesn't even feel as if we actively choose. So all of these practices in the yamas niyamas about clearing, cleaning, taking stock of, so that as we step into the world, as we continue on this path of living, we do so with deep intention, with integrity. Coming up and change sides. Once again, you can use a block underneath the left knee. If neither of these are accessible, please come onto your back for thread the needle. In our somatic relationship, it is said that the jaw and the hips are related. Tension in the jaw, tension in the hips, tension in the hips, tension in the jaw. This grasping, in a sense. So in this practice, we soften both. We give space to both. Slowly come on up, and now we'll take that blanket or bolster or pillow back behind us, the lengthwise of our spine. If you have a strap, you can use that strap. And we're going to take the strap in a particular form to support the waist and the feet and their connection. So make a loop, thread your feet between the loop. Take the loop all the way up through the legs and back behind the sacrum. Then bring that loop up over the inner thighs. You may need to loosen it or you may need to tighten it. Wrap it over the ankles and the tops of the feet. Once again, you'll find your blocks nearby. See what support you need. Come all the way back onto your back. Maybe you'll use a block underneath the head. Maybe you'll use a block underneath the knees. So you decide what might work for you to release in completely. Because once we're here, spin the palms up and letting yourself simply rest and be soft, receptive, open, less in a state of doing. We took the moment, the time to get ourselves in this position so that we can soften, receive the great grace of this practice. Again, that effort and that surrender in equal measure. When we approach all of the limbs of this practice, when we give ourselves the spaciousness, then grace comes in. The grace of the Ishvara, of the divine, whatever that might be to you, for you, on this journey through. You can choose to stay here for a while longer, or slowly and carefully come on up. And if you have the time, bringing yourself over toward a wall, placing the hips up onto the bolster, and then bringing the legs up the wall. Viparita Karani. You want the sacrum to rest just a little bit over whatever is supporting you so that the femurs descend down into the hip sockets. Here, the back of the head rests onto the ground. And I welcome you to stay here for a good 20 minutes if you have that time. If not, possibly one of the days this week you will have 20 minutes to give to this, allowing the full cycle of blood moving out from where it congeals in the legs, gets stagnant through the waist, and letting it pump through the heart, the organs, resting and at the same time revitalizing. The pranidhana, the surrender, is an active practice. We have to actively choose it, actively give ourselves space and time. And trust me, the mind, the ego will come up with all sorts of excuses, all sorts of preferences for activities, for doingness, as the ego is very uncomfortable with empty spaces. Once again, either remaining here or slowly come seated. You can again find yourself in some cross-legged posture. If you're moving on with me, we'll take the hands back behind, and the right hand holds the left wrist. Let the elbows go heavy, and if you have the space, fold in here. Slowly come on up, bring the hands to prayer at the forehead, tilting the head lightly up. Just reconnect with this which is beyond ourselves, beyond our daily dramas. Hands to prayer at the mouth. And then hands to prayer at the heart, indicating again through the mouth this communication that is clear, loving, and compassionate. Back to the heart, this remembrance of the space that is innate wisdom, grace, connected with all beings.